Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the TravelPulse podcast. I'm Eric Bowman, managing editor of TravelPulse.com. My co-host Dan is on vacation once again, twice in 1 month. I know, I'm jealous, but instead of riding solo this week, I'm bringing on quite the experienced traveler in Drew Binsky. Drew has traveled to 191 countries, and if not for the pandemic, he would have completed his quest to visit every single country in the world this year while filming a documentary in the process. He's a phenomenal content creator, social media guru, has nearly 500,000 followers on Instagram, over 1.5 billion video views on YouTube. So we'll get into what's trending in the world of travel first and talk to Drew more about social media and his travel experience as well. So Drew, welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you so much for joining and talking travel with me.
Eric, really appreciate it, man. I love to have any chance I can to get on other platforms and chat about travel. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. So before we get into what's trending, though, real quick, I got to ask, how was Mexico? When we set this up a few weeks back, I was in Cancun. You were traveling in Mexico in multiple cities. I think you were in Mexico City at first. So how'd that go? Where did you end up visiting? And what were your biggest takeaways from traveling while we're in a global pandemic right now?
Yeah, it was my first time leaving the U.S. since March, so it was great. Also my first time not visiting a touristy coastal beach town in Mexico. And the country is incredible. So rich in culture, very nice people, amazing food. I was in Mexico City, Oaxaca, and Guadalajara. And actually tomorrow I'm going down to Chiapas, which is the southernmost state on the border of Guatemala. I'll be doing like a trek into the jungle to meet some indigenous tribes. So yeah, I love Mexico. I'm really happy I went and I'm excited to go back.
That's awesome, dude. A lot of people don't venture too far out from the beach towns. So that's really cool that you can provide that to your following and post really cool videos and stuff. So the Oaxaca one with the food was fantastic. It made me instantly hungry right away. So looking forward to what's coming up on your future videos, man.
Really appreciate it, Eric. Thanks a lot.
I know you've got some future trips coming up. I myself will be headed to the Dominican Republic next week, provided my mandatory COVID test requirement all checks out. But speaking of mandatory orders, though, that brings us into what is trending in the world of travel this week. And the CDC dropped its mandatory 14 quarantine day order for travelers. So it's still recommending you quarantine for 14 days if you do travel internationally. But they removed the language from their website of a mandatory order for quarantine for 2 weeks. You know, this might inspire more people to travel. I think the industry needs it. But if you are going to travel, remember to do so responsibly. Make sure you follow the local protocols in place, mask up, wash your hands. So what do you make of the CDC and their rules and guidelines and stuff?
Yeah, I think everyone's approach to travel should be different. It's definitely risky. Clearly, if you have any underlying health concerns or conditions, or there's no need to travel, then don't travel or take a road trip where you don't have to, be in crowds. But for me, it's my job. It's a lot of people's jobs. And if we take precautions like I just bought 100 masks that I'm bringing with me, those disposable masks. I'll be having private drivers to take me around each country, road tripping. I will be avoiding crowds. I'm doing all I can. I just got tested this morning again because you have to show a mandatory test to enter Egypt. So I'm doing all I can. And listen, there's no clear-cut answer as to when it's safe to leave our house again until there's a vaccine, and there may never be a vaccine. So I'm not going to live my life in fear, and I'm going to do what I want to do.
I'm with you on that, man. Getting out and travel. Where in Egypt are you going to be going?
I'll be flying into Cairo and then flying to Aswan in the south and getting a car and driving all the way up to Alexandria in the north, and then doing some stuff in the desert, and then going to Sinai Peninsula and doing some scuba diving in Dahab and some areas there. And then I'll be flying to Turkey, doing a month road trip around the perimeter of the country with a Turkish buddy, and then the same thing in Ukraine. And then hopefully from there I can get a backdoor entry into Europe, which there is a way how to do that with a U.S. passport.
That's pretty sweet, man. That's a lot of travel coming up. So I'm a little jealous, not going to lie, but look forward to following on social media on that. So continuing on with what's trending in the world of travel, as we know, some people do not follow the rules and guidelines. Unfortunately, they ruin it for other people. So the latest round of naughty passengers continues on. We have had people continuing to be kicked off flights and banned from airlines. A fight even broke out on American Airlines flight last week. But we did have our first naughty passengers in the cruise world in quite some time. A family was kicked off MSC cruise ship for breaking the new health protocols. They separated from their group excursion. MSC is only doing their own excursions right now, but they left away, and MSC made an example out of them. I absolutely love this. you got to follow the rules, people. If you can't, just stay home. So Drew, are you into cruising at all? What's your take
Yeah.
here on this? And
Yeah, I've done through 4 expedition cruise ships, one to Greenland and Iceland, one to Antarctica with Hurtigruten, a company I work with, Norwegian Cruise Line, and then I've done some Carnival stuff in the Caribbean and Royal Caribbean, another cruise line. I think you got to be a moron if you're not going to follow the directions. It's like, don't travel. If you know what you're getting into, and you have every option to stay home, and if you want to travel, then follow the rules. And if you don't, then then you're gonna face the consequences. So I hope those people get punished. I think it's ridiculous if you're going to travel now and you're not going to follow the directions.
right, it's not that hard, So
It's not hard at all.
I'm glad
Get rid
that
or stay home.
exactly. So one popular destination for cruisers has long been Hawaii, and the latest news for the tourism hotspot is that Hawaii once again pushed back its tourism reopening date, setting it for October 1st. So you can travel to Hawaii right now, but you have to quarantine for 14 days. So I'm beginning to wonder if Hawaii will even open up for tourism at all in 2020, but different destinations are doing different things. So Drew, what have you noticed from countries around the world of how they've been handling this pandemic?
It's totally hit or miss on the country. Like Mexico, for example, is completely wide open. I already went. I'm going back. There's absolutely nothing. You went there. You have to fill out this little health questionnaire that takes about 17 seconds. They take your temperature, and then they say, welcome to Mexico. So Turkey's like that too. A couple other countries are like that. Brazil is just now open again. But other countries like Saudi Arabia, which is one of my final 6 countries, they're like complete lockdown, like no chance of getting in, crazy precautions, strict measures. So other countries like Ukraine, they break the world into red and green countries. Red being countries with high infection rates that you need to take a mandatory test on arrival. Green are countries that have been fine. And if you're coming from a green country, then you don't have to get tested. So you really have to like check up online or call the embassy and see what the latest rules are. They change them every hour. So it's really frustrating, but the countries I'm going to coming up, knock on wood, they've been allowing tourism and things have been fine. So there's about 15 countries right now that are allowing U.S. passports to go as a tourist, which is sad. But yeah, hopefully in the coming months, as testing becomes more rapid and more available, I think more countries will open their borders. So yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think the news from the CDC that we talked about earlier could make an impact in the future on that. So I'm hoping that Europe will open up before the end of the year, but that kind of remains to be seen. So
absolutely.
Those are just a few of the top trending stories in travel over the last week. For more travel and tourism news, head over to TravelPulse.com. So as we mentioned earlier, Drew Binsky on the podcast here, successful content creator. You're really big onto social media, so I want to dive into some questions here. What are some methods or techniques you have used to help build such a big following on social media, and what social networks have really worked best for you?
It started with travel blogging, which is not social media. Then I got really big in Snapchat in 2015. I had a following of 30,000 people. I was getting sponsored to go around the world when Snapchat was popular. And then I pivoted to Instagram when Instagram stories came out. And then I started making videos in 2017. And from then it's been Facebook and YouTube primarily. But yeah, the key is being consistent. I post every day for 3 years now. So it doesn't happen overnight. And making inspiring educational content of things that people want to see. Shareable content, when people share your video with their friends and they discover you. So it's just about being yourself and making good stories and having fun with it, really. It's a lot of work though. Like people underestimate how much effort goes into one video and to all this, this whole job in general is I pretty much work like 18-hour days. I sleep about 4 to 5 hours a night and then give or take 1 hour of the day that I'm eating or taking a shower, and the rest of the time I'm working. So it's pretty crazy.
It's a constant grind, yeah, but you have had great success. I mean, over 1.5 billion views in just 3 years. That's pretty phenomenal. So
Thanks
on
a lot.
YouTube.
Appreciate it.
Here at Travel Pulse, we have a lot of travel advisor readers and listeners of the podcast who run their own business. So just want to get your thoughts on what do you think some best practices for businesses on social media that you'd recommend abiding by? And what do you think some advisors might be able to do to increase their following or engagement?
Businesses are hard depending on what it is because it's hard to connect with a brand versus a persona, a personality. So like I work with Duolingo, which is great, and they use my face a little bit on their Instagram, and I did a podcast with them, and I think have a human element to your brand is really important. Like, here's an example. I just rented a car with Hertz. Actually, no, sorry, Enterprise. Hertz is going out of business. I was thinking about Hertz when I said that. Um, and I look at their social media, and it's not very good. But if there's a face and there's someone using it and recommending it, that's a whole different story. But otherwise, how can someone follow just a car company? It's on itself. Some airlines do a really good job with this as well. So posting stuff with a face, someone can connect with it, and getting on a constant schedule. I recommend at least posting every day. People don't even see that post every day. A lot of it goes hidden. So posting every day, and making videos is important on all social networks, because videos are the future, and as opposed to just a picture on Instagram. And sharing catchy content that people want to see and people want to share. You got to look at it in the long term, not the short term. So yeah, it's a lot of things. Those are the basic tips right there.
Oh, great insight. I think advisors can take away from that is video is key, and then consistently posting and staying on top of it, and engaging with your following as well. So I think you do a good job of that. So have you done any social ads before? And is that something you think might be valuable for a travel advisor to look into?
You mean what kind of ads are you talking about?
Yeah, just like ad placements, or to promoting your own persona in that, or with.
No, I've never spent any money on promoting myself. So I just focus on making shareable content. I know you can do Facebook ads, and they work for some people, but I choose to spend my money elsewhere than Facebook ads.
Noted. So in your vast travel experiences, I think that's all great insight on social media. I want to get some more of your thoughts on where you've been and things like that. So what are some lesser known destinations that really blew you away that you think more people should consider, especially once restrictions are lifted up, and hopefully 2021, we can get back to a new normal way of travel, but.
Namibia is my favorite country in Africa. It's in the southwestern corner, bordering South Africa and Angola. It's a beautiful place. It's mostly dirt. It's the least densely populated country in the world. You have amazing national park, very safe. Everyone speaks English. The roads are good. Food is delicious. It's just a really underrated country for traveling around. Another one is, there's so many, but I really like Lebanon. I like the Middle East, so I like Lebanon. I like Afghanistan. I like Syria, countries that people don't think about going to, but there's a lot of beautiful things happening inside those places. And when you're there, it's not as scary as what it sounds like. But if you don't feel like going through the process of getting a visa for Afghanistan and Syria, which I don't blame you, check out Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, even like Czech Republic and Hungary. These countries are far more interesting culturally to me than Western European countries, and it's also way cheaper. Like the dollar can take you about honestly 3 times or 4 times the value in a country like Romania than France or Spain or the UK. So and there's a lot of hidden treasures out there, and more undiscovered places, and it's all very safe. So yeah, Turkey is another great one, which I'm heading back soon. But in South America, my favorite is Bolivia. Uyuni salt fields are incredible. It's the largest salt. What's it? Not a salt mine. A salt flats. It's the biggest one in the world, and La Paz is the highest elevation capital city in the world. It's like 4,000 meters high. I can literally talk for about another hour on cool places, so I'll just stop there.
Hey, we love it, man. So yeah, Turkey is a place that I can't wait to be a socially distant traveler there one day. I think we're going to see a lot of it socially distant travel and stuff. And you talked about, stretching your dollar. I think a lot of people are going to be concerned about that, and
right.
How much they spend on their budget moving forward and everything. So definitely some great countries to check out there. So you yourself are going to be completing a documentary film about visiting every country in the world. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Which countries do you have left to visit? Are you going to wait until all restrictions are lifted? You're going to try to do a little bit after your upcoming trip?
Yeah, my final 6 are Palau, Saudi Arabia, Ghana, and then Ecuador, Venezuela, Jamaica. After I finish those 6, I'll be finished every country in the world, and I'll have a team coming with me to shoot a documentary about my realizations of going to every country. It'll be called Every Country, and hopefully it'll be on Netflix or something similar. Everything's postponed. We were supposed to finish in July, which was a month and a half ago. So
Yeah.
probably we'll do it next year. Everything's still going to happen. It's just gotta wait a little bit and take a little more precautions. But I'm pretty optimistic. And 2 of the 6 countries are open, Jamaica and Ecuador. But we're just going to wait until it's a little bit better. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, you kind of want to. Do you have that set in mind where you want to end it specifically in Jamaica, and then like a paradise ending, so to speak, or?
Yeah. Originally it was going to be Jamaica, but now it'll probably be more like Venezuela or Saudi because those countries will open like later than the other ones. And so we'll see. Everything's up in the air, but I'm just going to travel and do what I love to do best and revisit some countries that I like. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Thank you for jumping on. Any other social media wisdom you want to impart to anyone listening at the moment? Social media and travel. Any travel tips?
Social media, don't neglect any platforms. TikTok is important. Actually, Twitter is the only one that's not important, but Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, I would post on all of those because you never know which one's going to come out on top or which one's going to stay longer. And you have different audiences for each one. So that's what I would say. Keep posting. For travel tips, I mean, my number one travel tip is to have a local friend in any place that you go because they help out with everything. They make your experience better. They know the place. They know the hidden spots. They know the layout of the land. They know the language. They will help you with navigation. I don't like sitting on Google Maps and figuring out how to get from point A to point B. I want to go somewhere cool and tell a story. And if you have someone that's there to experience it with you, then it makes it infinitely better. So find a local friend. It's not that hard to do that. You can use social media to do that. You could have a friend of a friend. You could use couch surfing. You could go to the hotel bar and talk to someone. You could ask around. I mean, there's a lot of ways to meet someone. So I really recommend doing that. And yeah, just go with the flow. As I've traveled more, I've realized that I plan less. Like literally tomorrow, I'm going to the jungle in Mexico. All I've booked is a flight, and my buddy's picking me up at the airport, and I don't even know where we're going or what we're doing. But it's more fun that way, and it's less stressful when you don't have to plan every single second every day. So that's me personally. The best adventures are unplanned and spontaneous, in my opinion. So yeah, Airbnb I usually use to book accommodations. You can always message the host in advance and ask for a discount, which you can't do on booking.com. So I've gotten 10% off every Airbnb, at least 10% over the last 5 years. So if you do the math, it's probably tens of thousands of dollars I've saved on Airbnbs just because I messaged the host and said, hey, I'm really interested to stay here, but it's a little over my budget. Are you willing to knock down the price? And it's happened to me every time. So that's one tip that no one really knows that can really save you some money. Other than that, have fun and don't be shy to do anything else.
That's great, man. That's a pretty sweet tip on Airbnb. I think a lot of people don't really realize that. Yeah, so just be polite and ask, and hey, asking you might receive. So that's pretty cool. So
exactly,
cool,
I asked 5 different. I usually pick up 5 different apartments I want to stay at, and I message all 5, and one of them always gives me the discount. So, yep.
There you go. So appreciate you joining us, Drew. Tell our listeners how they can find you on the web and everything.
Yeah, Eric, my pleasure, man. That was fun. So it's at Drew Binsky on all social media, DREWBINSKY. That's just my first and last name. If you type it in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you'll certainly find it. And please message me and say hi that you heard me on this podcast, and we'd love to connect with you guys. Thank you.